For more on the growing shortage of doctors around the world, I spoke to McGreggor Crowley. He's a premier college admissions counselor at IvyWise, and I started by asking him whether free medical school is really the answer to the problem.
I think it gives them some freedom to have even more open-mindedness as they go into whatever residency or specialty or subspecialty practice. I think the Inland Empire approach is a huge step in the right direction. I think more of a focused type of repayment to incentivize medical students and residents to choose pathways that are really are focused on treating underserved communities is the best way, and that's going to really bring out those people very early in the process. And have them develop a mindset that's more geared towards primary care, family practice, pediatrics, in order to get them into the pipeline early, and then to make sure that there's a place for them once they finished their residency, so that they can go and meet those underserved populations and treat them.
So is this the model that should be and could be easily replicated en masse elsewhere in the U.S. and indeed in the rest of the world?
I feel that they're experimental in nature, and it's going to be important to determine whether or not these experiments have been successful, because they're wildly expensive, and who wants to throw good money after bad if they're not a successful experiment? I would argue that the tuition repayment program, or the tuition waiver program that went to NYU, really is a mistargeted initiative. Money is spent on students, many of whose families could easily have afforded the tuition, and essentially, like, now, where are these students going to go? How are they going to choose those next pathways in life? That data needs to be collected, and that data needs to be very closely analyzed. The problem with it is that the number of people affected by these types of donations is very small, and so in order to have like statistical significance, they're going to need either multiple experiments like this taking place, or a lot of data over a longitudinal period of time.
Many countries import doctors and indeed nurses to meet their shortages. The U.S. doesn't, or at least not on a noticeable scale. Why not? And could that or should that change?
So there's been a really wonderful tradition in the United States of, in the past at least, I don't know about necessarily currently, of welcoming many foreign medical school graduates or international citizens who trained in other countries to come to the United States either for residency or to practice once they've completed their boards. That's been driven down sharply over the last 10 to 20 years, so much so that it's now become a stigma to apply to residency programs or jobs here in the United States to be, medical providers. If you're a graduate of a foreign medical school, it's a separate process. Oftentimes those applicants are deprioritized in the selection of residents. And I can say, from being on my pediatrics residency committee, those are some of the most talented students who are out there. And they would be promising clinicians. Unfortunately, there's a lot of roadblocks to those individuals coming to the United States.
McGregor, to be fair, medical costs in the U.S. are high, but there's medical innovation in the U.S. that's helping Americans, that's helping the world. In an effort to bring down the price of school and ultimately the price of care, might innovation suffer?
I don't think so. I think there's a lot of room for innovation to improve patient care and to decrease medical costs overall. My own research is into the design of artificial intelligence algorithms that can essentially replicate the work of certain subtypes of clinicians, radiologists, pathologists, like frontline clinicians, through the use of large databases and really developing robust algorithms that can help with medical management and decrease cost and improve safety overall. I think that's one of the avenues towards the improvement of healthcare, particularly in a population-wide approach, because if you can have sort of smart technological innovations that aid clinicians and make them more efficient and make them safer, then diagnosis can be made earlier, fewer medical errors will take place. And really those medical errors are one of the big drivers of increased healthcare costs in the United States.